Have you ever heard of a place that simply vanished? Not a city lost to time, but a town full of people that disappeared overnight. Today, we re-delving into one of America's most chilling and least known cold cases, the silent disappearance of Hollow Creek. The year was 1947. Nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Hollow Creek was a small, self-sufficient mining town with a population of exactly 347 souls. It wasn't a place you'd find on most maps. It was isolated, surrounded by dense, ancient forests and shrouded in an almost perpetual mist. Life was simple, hard, but communal. People knew each other, worked together, and lived in a tight-knit community. Then, on the morning of November 14, 1947, a mail carrier named Thomas Miller arrived to find nothing. Well, not nothing. The town was still there. The houses stood, doors unlocked. The general store was stocked, but the people were gone. Every single man, woman, and child had vanished without a trace. Miller immediately alerted the authorities. State police were dispatched, and what they found only deepened the mystery. At the local diner, half-eaten meals were still on the tables, the coffee still lukewarm in the pots. In the homes, fires were still smoldering in the hearths. Personal belongings were left untouched, and pets were found, seemingly confused but unharmed. The town's single generator was still running, powering the few lights that hummed in the eerie silence. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of a mass exodus, no notes, no clues. It was as if 347 people had simply ceased to exist in the middle of their daily routines. The investigation was massive, but fruitless. Search parties combed the surrounding mountains for weeks, finding nothing. They checked with relatives in other states. No one had heard from their family in Hollow Creek. The FBI was called in. They profiled every resident, looking for any hint of a cult, a secret pact, or a reason for a mass departure. They found nothing. The coal mine, the town's lifeblood, was inspected. The equipment was in place, ready for the next shift, but the miners were gone. The only anomaly was a series of strange, deep scorch marks on the rock walls at the furthest end of the deepest tunnel, something geologists couldn't explain. The case grew cold, and eventually, Hollow Creek was cordoned off by the government, officially declared a hazardous zone due to unstable mining conditions, and wiped from public records. For decades, the story was just a whisper, a local legend told to frighten children. But then, in 2018, a group of independent documentary filmmakers, led by a paranormal investigator named Elena Vance, decided to uncover the truth. Using old, declassified maps and local folklore, they found their way to the forgotten town. Their footage is the most terrifying evidence we have. The crew documented their journey into the decaying town. The buildings were collapsing, reclaimed by nature, but the feeling of being watched was immediate and overwhelming. Their equipment began to malfunction. Cameras would shut off, audio would fill with static, and compasses would spin wildly. On their third night, they captured something truly disturbing. Their audio recorders, left running in the old church, picked up the faint sound of what seemed to be a congregation singing a hymn. But when they played it back and isolated the audio, the hymn was distorted, sung in a language no one could identify, and it seemed to be playing backward. Elena and her team focused on the town hall, where they found the sheriff's logbook miraculously preserved. The last entry, dated November 13, 1947, the night before the disappearance, was written in a shaky, frantic hand. It read, "The sky is wrong. The color, it's not right. The pines are whispering. Not with the wind, they're singing. God help us. It's here. The tall man's hunger is..." The entry cuts off, the ink smudged as if the pen was dropped mid-sentence. Who or what was the tall man? Local legends from surrounding areas spoke of an ancient entity, a being of shadow and silence that lived in the deepest parts of the forest. A creature that walked between the trees and was said to feed not on flesh, but on presence, on existence itself. The legends claimed it would sometimes be drawn to places of concentrated human life, lured by their collective energy. The documentary crew's final broadcast was their most harrowing. They decided to explore the mine where the strange scorch marks had been reported. Deep inside, their cameras captured flickering images in the darkness. Shapes that seemed to move just at the edge of the light, impossibly tall. Thin figures that seemed to bend and distort the air around them. Elena's last audible words on the recording are breathless, terrified. They're not shadows. They're empty. They're here. After that, the camera feed cuts to static. A single high-pitched wail is heard, and then silence. The documentary crew, all 4 of them, were never seen again. Their equipment was later found abandoned at the mouth of the mine. Authorities who recovered the gear reported the same eerie quiet that greeted the mail carrier back in 1947. It was as if the forest had simply swallowed them whole. So what happened to the 347 residents of Hollow Creek, and decades later, to the 4 filmmakers who went looking for them? Were they victims of a government experiment? A strange natural phenomenon? Or did they come face to face with an ancient, predatory entity from the heart of the Appalachian woods? The tall man, whose hunger was finally sated? The town of Hollow Creek remains empty, a silent monument to a mystery that defies all explanation. It serves as a chilling reminder that some places are best left forgotten, and some secrets should remain buried. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoy exploring the world's greatest mysteries, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Stay curious and stay safe.